Greetings, magnificent souls, to the Attract Health, Build Wealth podcast, where we have open and honest discussions about ourselves. This is your host, Lily Bewley, and I'm honored to have conversations here with thought leaders, visionaries, healers, and even solo conversations with myself about things I am currently reflecting on. And this is a place where we break down, break away, and break through our emotional trauma, allowing ourselves to attract health, build wealth, and live a peaceful life. We are tired of being sick and tired. We are tired, but we are not giving up. We know that there is something magnificent inside of us. And because we are fighting daily, hourly, and by the minute, fighting ourselves, our kids, our spouses, we have to do things differently. We have to break the cycle. We don't have a million chances. We have to be happy now. We have to find a way. So how do we do that? How is that possible? If you look around at what society is telling you, they tell you that what we're doing is impossible. Yet it's happening every single day. And it's happening through the practice and the love that we call awakening the magnificent soul. We are all magnificent souls. And these are our stories of healing. Today in episode 69, I welcome Tara Hissen to the show to chat all about finding your internal confidence. But before we get into the podcast, don't forget to let me know your thoughts about this episode, any feedback you have, or anything you'd like me to cover on future podcasts at epiphanyvault.com. Remember, it is a safe place, and I would welcome the discussion. And today's episode is brought to you by the free masterclass I am hosting on Thursday, July 15th, called Eliminating Burnout in Dating and Relationships. And this is where I'll be teaching you how to feel aligned in your romantic life so that you can feel whole and complete while also feeling loved and appreciated. And this masterclass is complimentary to the podcast community. You can register to get your spot at soullove.today, and make sure to grab your spot, because spaces are limited, and show up so that you can give yourself everything that you need. A little bit about Tara. She is a life and confidence coach, and she helps women reclaim their confidence, feel good in their skin, and live a life they are obsessed with. I really enjoyed my conversation with Tara, and I hope you enjoy as well. And here's my conversation with Tara Hissen. Tara, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for asking me to be on your podcast.
Yes, it's my pleasure. And girl, we go back.
Oh my gosh, from the days of SAS Fitness, right?
Yes. Yes. So what was that? Maybe 10 plus years ago?
Yeah, if I recall, it was 2011, 2012, and then I left in 2013, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we were, a little bit of background for all you listeners out there. We were members of the same, like kind of boutique gym, and we did a lot of working out together. Some probably bad eating habits that we'll probably get into as well. But yeah, we were in the trenches for a little bit doing some heavy lifting, literally, probably and figuratively. And yeah, it's just so great to connect with you here. I feel like our journeys have been similar but different, right? We all have our own kind of journey, but we're both coaches now. And I feel like we connect on a really deep and heartfelt level, which is amazing, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, is really that like-minded community.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more. It was meant to be. It's like our journey started at SAS Fitness. And then it's funny that you say boutique gym, because now it's like boutique gym is like the fad.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to have a boutique gym. And Sandra was doing that way long before it became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I truly believe that Sandra basically took everyone under her wings and mentored them to becoming, I guess, coaches, or because I think a lot of people now from Sandra's gym are either coaches or they're trainers, and she provided that space for us, and I'm grateful for that.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Well, Well, I guess that makes sense, actually. You kind of just putting that together for me, which makes me also think that I need to have Sandra as a guest on the podcast as well. I think that'd be hella dope. Be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for her, for me, I don't know. I mean, just a little bit about my quick story in a nutshell from the gym is I was unemployed when I started going to the gym, and I was collecting unemployment, and I really wanted to move into the fitness industry. And so Sandra took me under her wing, and she would give me like these side gig jobs, like,
Mm,
be a metrics girl or met RX girl, however you say it,
yeah.
the protein
Yeah.
supplement. And then she allowed me to coach some of her classes. I don't know if you remember, but there were some classes that I coached for her when she couldn't do them or when someone couldn't step in. Um, so that's where my journey with fitness started, when I decided, like, okay, I know that this is the path that I want to go down. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen,
hmm
but this is it.
Yeah. So true. Yeah, man, I just remember, yeah, my state of mind when I was there was not great. And it just so like it's like, I don't know, it's just amazing the growth that I've had, and I'm sure that we've had since then. It's just so good. Um, I would love you touched on your story from the gym a little bit, and I would love for you, if you feel open to it, to share kind of your journey to where you are now, obstacles that you're faced. And I know, like we mentioned, you are a coach as well, focusing a lot on confidence and fitness. And I don't want to tell what you do, but like, how did you get to this place of being able to confidently teach these practices?
Yeah, so actually it's great that you asked that question. As I was sitting here writing out these email sequence and trying to put my words together and tell a little story about myself, for the program that I'm about to launch. Uh, and it's insane, but my story started when I was 7 years old.
Hmm.
And I know you're probably wondering, how is that even possible? 7 years old. And the way that that story started is I was actually taken to a dietitian when I was 7. And you know, I don't blame anyone. I believe that I take responsibility for where I am now, who I was before, who I am today, and that just helped shape who I am. So when I was 7, I was put on this diet, and I remember, and I still vividly remember sitting at the kitchen table in Lebanon. I was at my cousin's house, and we were having dinner, and they were having Burger King. And meanwhile, my mother was asking me, what would you like? Would you like a piece of bread, or would you like a baked potato? Would you like this piece of chicken, or would you like this piece of steak? And I'm a 7-year-old kid, like, what the fuck?
Like,
Are
give
we
me
allowed to
those
swear on
fries and
here?
the yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
It's free.
Okay.
But yeah, like, give me those fries, give me that Big Mac or whatever it is. That's horrible.
I know, right? So I was like
Hmm.
sitting there like, I, I don't want to eat this. Like, why am I eating this? And looking back, like, I was never obese. I was never fat. I might have been a little overweight, but I was 7. Like, what the hell?
Hmm.
And it's okay to be a little overweight when you're 7. And so one thing after the other, that's when I started dieting, and that's when my yo-yo dieting habits kicked in
Mm.
from such a young age. And because of that yo-yo dieting habit, I developed binge eating disorder. I developed a lot of shame for myself, a lot of body shame, mind shame. Uh, I lacked confidence. I had zero self-esteem. And I always compared myself to others. They call it the imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
And I literally dragged all of these issues with me all the way through my teenage years, all the way through my childhood, through my 20s. And then in my 30s, when I moved back, so little backtrack over here. When I met Lily, I was living in Sacramento, and I was there until 2013. Then I decided to make the move to Dubai. So I moved to Dubai for 6 years. And then in 2019, in March 2019, I came back to the US. And all of those years of trauma and not really unpacking the shit that I was going through and really understanding what I was going through led me to major depression that when I came back to the US, my lifestyle went from super fast pace to living in suburbia, super slow pace. And then
Mm-hmm.
everything just hit me all at once. And I was like, holy shit, like I couldn't get myself out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get myself to do work. And here I am, an entrepreneur running my own online business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not getting online. I'm not showing up for people. I'm not being consistent. And I was doing all the things that wasn't allowing me to be the confident woman that I am today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I hit rock bottom. Like I know I've probably talked about hitting rock bottom in so many different points in my life, but I hit rock bottom in last year, actually, as COVID hit. And it wasn't because COVID hit, it was because now we were not able to like go out, do things, travel, get out there. So it's like all of my dreams and aspirations that I wanted to achieve, was surrounded by this wall. And instead of knowing how to get myself outside of that wall, I allowed myself to stay in that wall and stay in that comfort zone and wallow in my suffering and wallow in my shit. And it wasn't until that I joined this mastermind to help me with my mindset, because I knew that I needed help. And I literally, like, you won't even, like, if I were to tell you how much money I dumped into so many coaches out there, and yes, I got learnings from each and every single one, but the one coach that actually helped me recognize, like, helped me become consciously aware was my last coach that I invested in. And that was a hefty investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I say hefty because it wasn't just $500, it wasn't $1,000, it was $18,000,
Mm-hmm.
And people will look at me and be like, oh my God, that's so much money. Like, how do you invest so much money? It's like, because I care about me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I care about the change that I want to have on the inside so that the change can happen on the outside.
Yeah. God, yeah. So much stuff that you just touched on. First of all, I feel you. I don't think we've talked about this before, but I went to my first dietitian appointment at 12. Went through the ups and downs, like you're mentioning, that you're the yo-yo through shit. Maybe like 5 years ago, and when I threw away the scale and I realized that I wasn't like on the healing journey yet, but I was aware enough to know that this is not a good relationship I have with you, scale. Like, you are bad news to me. And it really just kept reinforcing the deeper, like you're saying, the deeper traumas about, for me, it was like, can't ever get anything right. You're not good enough. I want this, then this, whatever weight coming up on the scale so bad because I feel like it's going to make me feel a certain way about myself. And, like I said, we never really talked about that, but same thing, binge, anorexia, like all of that stuff that really just perpetuated this feeling of like shame, like you're saying, and fear and like all that stuff. And what you're saying as well about COVID is the exact same thing that happened to me. Um, People on the podcast know that I've been around. I've had this podcast since 2018, but I would go through periods of like being really, really productive about it, and then like go through periods of like 6 months of not broadcasting. And it was something that was really, really near and dear to my heart. Like for me, my like rock bottom was suicide. And like it's very important for me to talk about this, but I hadn't healed enough yet to where I could like keep going in that upward trajectory. So like, oh man, everything that you're saying. So like, oh, it hits me. It hits me so deep. Mm.
Right. And it's pretty insane because again, we can't blame our parents, right? They raised us as best as they could, as with whatever tools they had and whatever resources they had. And, you know, we can't blame people that aren't consciously awake,
Mm.
right? And so I've come to this realization actually in June, what, like a month ago, less than a month ago? No, a month ago. I came to this realization that the biggest problem is me.
Mm.
I'm the one that's causing all the problems in my life, right? Because I sit here and I say, I want this, I want that, and I'm not taking action.
Mm.
And the focus is not really being focused on what I want, it's being focused on the things that I don't want. So then you end up putting yourself in this loop, right? Because when you focus on something, it's basically going into your behavior. So who are you being to get the results that you want? And then the results are giving you feedback, and then it's going back into your focus. So it's like this feedback loop.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of, we can probably dork out on that on another podcast about, neurobiology, neuroscience, and all that stuff. I mean, it's literally a thing now that um, it is. It's everything about what we're doing, creating this pattern of sameness. Same. It's like all same. And same means safety, right? Until we learn how to like step out of that in a, quote unquote safe manner or whatever. But that's, like I said, another probably conversation, which I'd like to dork out about. So, um, okay, so I agree. Like, obviously, like there was a point in my life where I had to take massive responsibility for myself. Massive responsibility, like realizing I had choice. For me, like I was done being spiritually dead. I was done being spiritually dead. What if, because I can hear this coming up, and I don't know if anyone's feeling this way that's listening, but I can hear it coming up. So what if, like, that's a very kind of hard line, and I get that, right? Like I get it. So what would you say to somebody that's like, but Tara, like I don't have any choices, but this and this is so hard. But you have $18,000, but I don't have $18,000. Or what if it's like someone like, um, that's maybe in that victim mindset of like, but it's not just me. This person's treated me this way and it's really shitty or whatever it is. What would you say? And if, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I feel like you can handle it because
Yeah,
I can feel like that comes up. That actually came up
yeah.
a lot for me with the clients that were presenting themselves to me at the very beginning of my business
Mhm.
is really kind of being in that kind of victim mode. What would you say to that? Mm.
Stop making fucking excuses for yourself.
Oh.
And what, you really think I had the 18K? No, I got resourceful,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Because people that want change get resourceful.
Mm.
Whether it's getting a credit card that has an 18-month, 0% interest, whether, well, fuck it. Like I pulled from my savings because I know that I'm going to make 10x than what's in my savings,
Mm.
right? Sell
Mm.
your stocks. I don't know, sell whatever is valuable in your house because you are a priority. You are worth it. You are worth every single investment. And I don't like to look at it as, oh my gosh, it's so expensive, or oh my gosh, what does that cost? I don't like putting cost as the word. It's an investment.
Mm.
You're investing in you. You're investing in you becoming whole again,
Yeah.
rather than being this fragmented individual that's walking around in life and not knowing what the fuck they're doing. Like, who are you? Right. And so for me, that was, and I just dropped another 10K into my um, personal growth and inner development because I value myself and I'm ready to hold myself to that higher standard. I'm ready to manifest the things that I want into my life. And so whenever anyone comes up to me and says, oh, but I can't afford, because we're coaches, right? We're going to get a ton of objections. And Most of the objections is, oh, I can't afford that. And that's our fault. That's on us because we're not showing the true value of transforming someone's life. We're not selling cookie cutter. We're not giving you a band-aid solution. We are changing your life.
Yeah. And I think for most people, at least, I mean, for me too, is that like, there was a lot of resistance in myself that came up, but I
Oh yeah.
also wanted to be that person that did, like, for me, when I hired my first coach, like, and it wasn't even that long ago, it was like a year and a half ago when I hired my first coach. Even though like my body, like I felt like I was going to puke, my hands were sweating, all that stuff, I had just come back from a vacation on a cruise that I had just spent $3,000 on, and for 5 days. And I'm like, dude, girl, if you are going to go do that and spend that amount of money on 5 days worth of, and of course, like you feel good after going to the beach, that feels good or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to do that, like, again, like who are you to yourself if you can't give yourself healing? But it's like, it's hella scary. And I get that, like, for sure. But yeah,
It is scary. It's
yeah.
so fucking scary because you're sitting here, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm investing this amount of money. And I know that, like, your average person, like, I'm investing this money. They are working in a corporate or they're working in some type of job. They're not going to make that money back. But what's the ROI? The return on investment is your personal growth, your inner growth, you knowing that you're changing internally. Because if you want to be confident, that's a job that's done on the inside. It's not done on the outside. Like, you can buy all the makeup that you want, you can buy all the fancy clothes that you want to make yourself feel and look good on the outside, but who are you being on the inside?
Truth.
Because if on the inside your self-talk is, oh, I wonder what they're thinking about me, or oh my God, look at her, she looks so amazing, those long legs, oh, I wish I had that. That's not okay. Like, there's a disconnect. Like, you can be confident on the outside, but confidence boils down to what is your inner self-talk to yourself. How are you treating yourself behind closed doors? If you're treating yourself like shit behind closed doors, then girlfriend, you are not confident.
Yeah, that's so deep. Yeah. And I've seen you kind of transition from, so I want to kind of pull back a little bit. We kind of got into some coach speak, but I hope that helped everyone out there listening. Part of your story is that you are an ex-burnout athlete. And I think this is a good segue because you're just talking about confidence and about, how did you get to burnout? Like, what was driving you to kind of put yourself in that position of unhealthy, burnout status? And how does that tie into what you're doing today, with working with confidence and fitness and all that stuff?
Yeah, okay. So I know that when we first reconnected, when I moved back to the US, I was actually a nutrition coach. And from there, because of my journey, because of my inner growth and personal development, I pivoted into more confidence coaching because I felt that there was that empowerment that I kept providing
Yeah.
people, especially when I would talk to someone on the phone or just, in passing, they always ended up feeling so amazing about themselves that was like, all right, I'm pivoting, shifting. And the ex-athlete burnout, I like that question because I used to do burnout well. I
Yes.
used to do it in
Oh
my
my God,
sleep.
yes. Isn't it so amazing how productive we are at that level? But yeah, keep going. But yeah.
Yeah, and it honestly started with me in my career working for corporations. That's why I left the corporate world. So I was brought up and raised to believe that when you work for a company, you go above and beyond for that company and you bend over backwards and you do anything and everything you can to work your way to the top. Well, that's totally wrong because right there you are proning yourself for you're proning yourself for complete burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, you're setting up yourself to wear a million hats. Like I used to work for Microsoft and I burnt out after 2.5 years because I wore so many different hats that I wasn't known for one thing, I was known for many things.
Mm-hmm.
And being known for many things in corporate is not necessarily a good thing. It's usually like, oh, Tara will do it. Oh, Tara will do it. But then when I have like a really brilliant idea, oh no, that's not going to work. And then someone inside steals your idea, uses it, and runs with it. Fine, whatever, you know. Um, and the biggest key here to burnout and to not allow yourself to fall in that rabbit hole of burnout is to understand to set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Setting boundaries is so important. Knowing when to say no or knowing when to draw that line, and even knowing how to set boundaries with your own boss. Like I was brought here to do XYZ. That is exactly what I'm going to do. Don't give more, don't give any less, give what you are asked of.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think this is very difficult for a lot of women, especially high achieving women, because they definitely, you know, the ones that work in corporate or even entrepreneurs, like they definitely want to rise to the top, but sometimes doing more is not the right way to go.
Mm.
So when I was an athlete, I always wanted to be overachiever. I wanted to be better than the people that I was competing against. And I just kind of like, you know, train, never gave myself a break. So I don't really train that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that to myself. Like going to the gym is now a chore for me.
Yeah, I don't
And
like it either anymore either.
yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
ugh, going to the gym. Like, even though I love my muscles, I love training, I love working out. But now it's like when I go back, I'm sore for like 5 days. I'm like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
The week just went by. That was one session. So maybe I'm like, okay, maybe I could do one session and then walk and like do outdoor activities. I'm okay with that because being an athlete is no longer my identity. Being healthy is part of my identity. So it's about really knowing what you want. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be an athlete. I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
So what are the behaviors that a healthy person has?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They get movement, they get good sleep, they eat well, they sleep well, they drink water, right? So it's about being that behavior to get the results that you want.
Yeah. And I think too, it's about, thanks for sharing that. And I think too, it's about your value system, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
are you in boundaries? I talk a lot about boundaries here on the podcast. Sometimes easier said than done. Obviously, like something that you and I, I'm sure can help people work on. But what was interesting for me in my growth is that all of my values, literally all of my values were outside of me, all of them, like how I look, what I achieve, like what we're talking about here, um, even like likes and comments on posts, or whatever, like it was all of my value from like a very, very young age, like hella young, was outside of me. And I think that is what healing is so important, is like bringing all of that. It's like kind of a reconfiguring of your values. And of course, like somebody could be like, oh yeah, well, my values is just like, I just want to be happy, which again, easier said than done. I think if you have some significant, patterns or traumas that are coming up in your life and that become a pattern, it's like, of course, like if you want to flip a switch, yeah, that'd be great, like to be happy. But I think it's just kind of a different reframe, is like, what you're just talking about. Values is like a very internal thing. And if we go for so long without knowing what our values are, then that's where it stays until we're talking about healing and coming back into ourselves too.
Yeah. To add to that, which is why the majority of people are in shitty relationships.
Yeah, that's my
They don't know their
focus.
values, right? They don't know their values. Like
Yeah.
if your values don't align with your partner's values and they're so different, then why are you even in that relationship? And here it goes back to, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone? Are you willing to commit to
Yeah.
you to be able to understand what your values are and really tap into that and be that identity? It's all about your identity. It's funny because last week we were talking about, um, what was I talking about? I was doing a podcast with my co-host, which we should have you on our podcast too,
Yeah, anytime.
talking about that. We were talking about, I forget what the topic was, but I kept going back to like, your identity is so important, because if you are not being that person, say for example, you want to be that healthy person, or you want to have a health, we're talking about relationships, you want to have a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
Okay, great. What exactly do you want from that healthy relationship? What are you doing? Where are you now? What are you doing to get to where you want to be
Mhm.
in that relationship? So if you both aren't doing, if you and your partner aren't aligned and you don't have the same congruency happening, then what's the point of being in that relationship? And I see that all the
Yeah.
time with partners.
Totally. Yeah. And that's kind of where my business is kind of morphed into is the limitless love that we want to receive from other people. We have to receive it from ourselves first. And I know that's cliche.
Yes.
I know that's cliche, like hella cliche, but it's also so true. It's true in my life. It's true in my client's life. And yeah, anyways, pedestal off.
No, it's not cliche. You know why? Because if you want change, right? I keep saying this, if you want change, it's got to come from inside of you. And inside of you is about loving yourself, it's about trusting yourself, it's about allowing yourself to receive the love and support. And
Mhm.
if you don't have that within you, then you're never going to be allowed, you're never going to allow other people's love. And
Totally.
so you're going to just repel it. So
Totally.
that's why we attract and manifest wrong partners into our lives.
Yes. Yeah. So true. It's so true. Well,
I hope I answered your questions. I know we went on so many different
no,
tangents.
this is, it's a free flowing space here. We're all welcome here, every part of us. Yeah, I mean, it's just, we could probably keep talking for hours, but I do kind of want to close it down a little bit and keep it down to time. Um, I know you have some things that you're working on right now in your business, and I'd love for you to share that and also share where any of my listeners can find you for some uplifting content or some offers that you have out.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So where you can find me on Instagram. I'm always there. Feel free to shoot me a message. It's at I am, so I as in Ingrid, Alpha Male, Tara Hissen. Um, on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, but I'm honestly predominantly on Instagram. And I do kind of have a YouTube channel that I must get back to.
Right?
Yeah,
The juggle.
I know, right?
Hmm.
It's a mindset thing,
Hey, we're always learning, are we not?
right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Um, and I actually am in the process of launching a DIY course so that you can do it yourself. So if you decide that you want to really learn how to awaken your consciousness, tap into your awareness, tap into your subconscious mind, rewire your brain, and I also throw in habits, and I throw in, so there's three different pillars. It's mindset, habits, nutrition. Um, the nutrition piece, I literally give you everything that I've learned, how I work with my clients, so you could do it yourself. I also give you all of my what's it called? My templates that I use with my clients. So it's not launched yet. I'm in the process of almost launching it. I'm hoping it's going to launch in the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited about that. And that is a DIY course. If you want to take it to the next level and you're ready to commit yourself and you're ready to get out of your comfort zone and you know that you're coachable, then I am doing group coaching. That is my high level group coaching where you will have access to the DIY program and you'll have access to one-on-one group coaching with myself, where in these coaching frame, we actually jump on Zoom intimate calls so that you can have your transformation and your breakthroughs on those
Yeah,
calls.
that sounds amazing. And I will link everything up in the show notes as well.
Awesome.
It's been so amazing having you here. I love all the great insight that you share and the journey that you've come to. And yeah, there's no cap. So I'm excited to kind of see where we go with this.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had such an amazing time, and thank you to all the listeners for tuning into this episode.
Okay.